This is Marco Reus.
This is Shinji Kagawa.
This is Nuri Zahin.
Hello, this is Jadon Sancho.
And you're listening to the Yellowwallpod podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 429 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about why we're mad, not just disappointed about a 3-0 loss in Leipzig, and why we're not mad, just disappointed about a 2-1 loss away to Manchester City, and why we hope to be neither mad nor disappointed after Saturday's Revierderby against FC Schalke. And for all that and more joins me Lars Pollmann. Hello Lars, how are you doing?
Hello, Stefan. I'm doing much better now that I've heard your best intro in years.
Well, thank you. And the intro continues right here because we have a sponsor of this episode.
Wir sind komplett schuldenfrei. Wir zahlen keinen einzigen Euro an Zinsen.
And this episode is sponsored by the man with 1000 Dortmund kits. It's at Zahin, the Sleek, who thanks us for all the great content we put out. So for that, thank you, Zahin. And Zahin, of course, represents Borussia Dortmund from Malaysia. And so I have to give a shout out to the Malaysian Dortmund fan club. So make sure to follow them at Dortmund MY fans. They have also a YouTube channel where Zahin does watch-alongs, and especially ahead of Dortmund's tour to Southeast Asia in November, where they will visit Singapore, Indonesia, and Vietnam. I think we should mention that. And if you want to sponsor an episode, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall for more information. And with that, we shall move on to Saturday's game against Leipzig, which was a 3-0 loss with goals from Orban, Szoboszlai, and Haidara. And Leipzig probably could have scored more if Werner's footballing IQ was higher than his shirt number. And Dortmund produced 5 shots, none on target. So Lars, why did Dortmund defend like Marco Rose was on the sideline?
Well, first of all, the only highlight coming out of this game is your attempt at pronouncing Szoboszlai, which was quite legendary.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I did my best.
It's a difficult name, and it's not like we at Dortmund are used to difficult names. Just remember Wojciechowski, which just rolls off the tongue quite easily.
Piszczek.
Correct. Anyway, I suppose they saw. I suppose they saw Marco Rose and were reminded of their duty to concede from a set piece, which happened after 5 minutes. Funnily enough, until that point, I think Dortmund were in the game quite well. Nico Schlotterbeck lost his man, Willi Orban. That stuff can happen, doesn't necessarily result in a goal. It did here. And from then on, it went downhill. I think maybe some of the players were a bit overplayed, as we would say in German. So there was certainly a lack of intensity in some aspects, which I guess comes down to not having enough opportunities to make changes to the 11 over the last few games with so many injuries again. So basically, once they went down 1-0 against Leipzig, and with Leipzig having the new manager bounce, with Marco Rose, every player giving, the typical 5 to 10% more, they were kind of doomed, I suppose. And then obviously, when they were looking to get into the halftime team talk, only a goal down.
2.
Which isn't... When they were looking at it, Stefan, before... Szoboszlai, as you said, scored the banger to make it 2-0. Once that happened, it was basically game over. I think if it had been 1 down, maybe there would have been a chance. But given the clear discrepancy in energy levels throughout the first half, bar the first 5 minutes, I think going down by 2 was basically an early nail in the coffin. And then, as you alluded to earlier, if Timo Werner wasn't Timo Werner, it might have gotten quite ugly, actually. And one could easily argue that 3 down against Leipzig is ugly enough.
Yeah, it was a terrible performance. Even my mother, who does not watch or like football whatsoever, said that these Dortmund players must have no honor if they lose to their ex-coach like that. And yeah, obviously a hot take from very far away. But yeah, still, it was pretty infuriating. While I also understand that the team was fatigued, and I don't know, I was kind of not caring about this game at some point. I was sort of mentally prepared for this sort of performance because the Copenhagen game I was really happy with, and obviously when you're really happy with the performance and think, okay, from first to the 90th minute Dortmund played really well, then guess what, the next performance they do lay an egg, and yeah, this is exactly what we expect from this team. And yeah, obviously some frustrating moments like Guerrero just standing around after losing the ball and such. But yeah, over the 90 minutes, Lars, I just thought that Dortmund's ball progression was simply too slow to threaten Leipzig. Obviously, a lot to do has with the lineup, also just because Dortmund did not have any pace. Anthony Modeste, obviously, very slow. Wolf, probably the fastest of the front three or front four. And yeah, Reus and Brandt also didn't really combine for much. And yeah, Jude Bellingham, not his best game either, even though he was one of the best players, arguably, for Dortmund. So, yeah, I don't know what more to say about this game other than that it was terrible, and that even with bench players coming on, Reina and Mokoko, around the hour mark, not much turned around. I mean, yeah, Reina created this one chance for Modeste, who then missed it. But yeah, that's about it. And yeah, of course, under 23 player Justin Neinma. I don't know how you pronounce him, but yeah, he gave his debut with
Not like that.
I'm sure not like that, but yeah. In all honesty, it was a write-off for Dortmund, and that is very sad because as the second richest team in the league, you expect a little bit more output than that, if I'm entirely honest. And yeah, I don't even want to waffle on too long about this game because we were on a tight schedule. So let's just move on to the next game, which was against Manchester City, a heartbreaking loss. And yeah, Jude Bellingham's redirect header off a Marco Reus shot in the 56th minute gave Dortmund a 1-0 lead, but John Stones with a thunderbolt in the 80th minute and Erling Haaland's ridiculously outstretched leg in the 84th minute saw Manchester City prevail. But the story here is that Edin Terzic lined Dortmund up in a 4-3-3 system with Emre Can solidifying the defensive midfield between Özcan and Bellingham, and that the team kept with Manchester City, and all their talent really. I would say for, what was it, about 80 minutes with 0 shots on target. So doing that in Manchester, to me, is very impressive. Pep Guardiola said after the game, we had problems to find our rhythm, and Motumel said we had them. So Lars, what did you make out of this game, and why is this loss so disappointing in the end, even though I predicted, a drubbing really?
Yeah, I think most will have. So, I mean, if it sounds defeatist in a way, but if you had given most Dortmund fans, not all of them, but most of them, the option to sign on for a 2-1 defeat after a good performance at Man City, I think they would have taken that. Given, what happened at Leipzig, and also given that Man City not only have Erling Haaland, but had a week of rest after the Premier League match day was cancelled. So, because of that also, I was kind of surprised at how well Dortmund did, to be honest. I was in the camp of those that expected a drubbing, just like you said, or at least feared it, because, even on a good day, if Man City have a better day, they will pummel you, because they have one of the best squads in club football in the world, and the most informed striker in the world in Erling Haaland. So, given all that, certainly surprising to see Dortmund prevail for so long, which was mostly down to all the things working well that didn't work well at Leipzig. So intensity, cohesion, defensively. Obviously, it's a much different game in terms of not having much of possession, I think actually Alex Meyer, despite his involvement, let's say, in at least the first goal, did brilliantly well with the ball at his feet and was kind of a major part of Dortmund's game plan to have a little bit of possession at least. I think, as you said, John did quite well in defensive midfield or dropping back into the back line on occasion. Given that Dortmund weren't going to have much of the ball, I think that was kind of the plan for John to drop back and help out a bit in build-up, but mostly just have another runner in defensive midfield so you don't get overrun by De Bruyne, Gündoğan, Rodri, Bernardo coming off the bench, and those guys. So yeah, I don't know. There's really not much to fault them for the first 79 minutes. I suppose Marco Reus could have put away that counter-attacking chance, but then again, that was a brilliant move for him to get that open shooting lane. So not much blame to
Man,
go around
Akanji
there.
sliding out of the TV picture was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, the entire move was pretty cool. I mean, I think it was Hummels with the laid-back header and then Özcan releasing on the left and all that. So that was a nice move. And then you described the goal as a redirect header from a Marco Reus shot. I guarantee you that Marco Reus didn't try to put that on goal. That was certainly a ball into the box to be headed into goal, not necessarily towards Bellingham, I suppose, but that was definitely not a shot on target. Yeah, I mean, I could ramble on, but I guess everybody saw Dortmund did really well for most of the game, and then Edin Terzic made what I would describe as an ill-advised but historically accurate Dortmund sub
the pain.
In bringing on a centre half in Nico Schlotterbeck for was Modest, right? For the striker. It's tried and tested, doesn't work for Dortmund, and doesn't matter if it's Tele Santana or whoever it is. Just don't bring on extra centre backs. Mats Hummels after the game, speaking to the Zone in Germany, said that everybody who makes the feed out to be because of the tactical switch to a back three is making things too easy for themselves. I suppose it's a good thing that the defensive leader doesn't throw the head coach under the bus, and B, it's nice to see Hummels not looking for an excuse. But I think there would be one for the taking because we know from history that it doesn't work for Dortmund to bring on extra centre backs, and I think it's also, if nothing else, maybe a sort of a mental sign to both teams that one of them is going to sit even deeper and invite even more pressure. And then when you take a look at both goals, Stones, no pressure on the ball. Obviously, he hits a great shot that Meyer might have kept out, or Kobel might have kept off more likely than Meyer, I suppose. And then the Trivela cross from Cancelo, I think it's Emre Can closing him down, and then Haaland does Haaland things, as I think Hummels also said, and that's basically how you lose at least one deserved points, if not 3 deserved points.
Yeah, very vexing indeed, because you have to really praise Terzic for how he set up Dortmund against this Pep Guardiola team, because Guardiola said it, again, similar problems to how it looked 2 seasons ago in the Champions League quarterfinal, and Manchester City really did look, like they were playing a preseason game at times. They maybe lacked some urgency. Maybe they saw the Leipzig game and thought, okay, we can win this in second gear, which, in the end might be true. But, I was impressed that after halftime, Dortmund came out and actually played a bit more on the front foot and created chances. And, you almost saw the goal coming. Like, Dortmund did create a couple of chances here and there. Obviously not a plethora of chances because it's still Manchester City, but nevertheless, really encouraging stuff. And then after they went ahead, it wasn't like Manchester City completely took over. So there were some nice stints of possession. As you rightly point out, Alex Meyer obviously had a foot in that. So, it's just annoying that these performances swing so much between every other day. And I really do wish that Terzic could make some more positive substitutions, because he did have Moukoko and Adeyemi on the bench. And I feel like maybe even, with 20 minutes to go, you bring in, he did bring on Malen, but you bring in more legs to, actually play forward more and maybe take some pressure off the back line. Because if you play the last 10 minutes super deep in your own box and just try to punt every ball that you get forward and just wait for the next wave of attack, I don't think that's a smart tactic. And Dortmund also do not really have the players to do that. They are not peak Atletico Madrid to really grind it out like that. So I really hope that Terzic learns from that. But considering he did this already in his first stint, and obviously it was also a strategy often applied under Lucien Favre, where he of course was the assistant coach, I do not have my hopes up high that the old centre-back substitution for the last 10 minutes or so doesn't rear its ugly head again in the future. So that's maybe the one disappointing note, that the in-game management could have been a little bit better, but that's sadly what it is now for Dortmund. But the good news is, as you pointed out, Copenhagen managed to get a scoreless draw against Sevilla, and with that Dortmund sit in second place in the group. And obviously they still have to beat Copenhagen in Copenhagen, but it at least looks very promising. So Lars, obviously there are more things to discuss in detail about the City game. The Jude Bellingham performance alone warrants that, but we just do not have much time. So let's look ahead to Saturday's Revierderby, and as you just told me, you will be there in person. So I'm just gonna give you the rundown. Schalke right now sit in P12. Too much Formula 1 here. Sit in 12th position in the Bundesliga table with one win that they just got against Bochum, 3 draws and 2 losses. They have scored as many goals as Dortmund this season with 8, but have allowed 13, which is the second worst record in the league behind Bochum, and their top scorer is Marius Bülter with 3 goals to his name. Now, the thing is, I have not really paid attention much to Schalke since they have been relegated, and back in the day I always knew exactly what player is playing which position, and knew their squad inside out pretty much because I watched them a lot. But nowadays, I don't know, they feel almost a bit of an irrelevant team, and obviously this derby will make that obsolete for me and bring them back to relevance. And if you're a new Dortmund fan, you should know that I, being from Dortmund, hate Schalke more than any other team on this planet. So Lars, what can we expect? Because I do not want to praise Dortmund for their performance against Manchester City before they also perform well against Schalke.
Well, too bad we just did for 3 minutes or so. I guess Schalke as a promoted side, 6 match days into the season, are still a bit of an unknown. You haven't seen them against every kind of opponent. I think their bad defensive record stems mostly from getting pummeled by Union Berlin at home. I think.
Was it 6-1?
Yeah, I think it was a 1-6 at home against Union. Not a shame. Union are a very, very good team these days, as evidenced also, for example, by a draw against Bayern, even though I guess that's what everybody does now in the Bundesliga until they come to Dortmund.
Just you put Union Berlin on level with VfB Stuttgart. I'm not sure that's fair.
Coming back to Schalke, I think the thing is, I looked it up for an article today. I think they have 3 players left from before they were relegated, and they were relegated in the summer of 21, so not even 1.5 years ago. And 2 of those are the backup goalkeepers. So it's basically an entirely new 11 that's going to face Dortmund.
A debutant ball, some might say.
Which is exactly the headline of the article I wrote, yeah. So it's only natural that there's a lot of, uncertainty and things that are unknown to us from a Dortmund perspective about Schalke. But then again, I think it's almost to their credit, speaking about Schalke, if I may, despite your hatred for them.
It's fine. I'll allow.
Me not being from Dortmund, I never got the absolute most of the Revierderby hatred or mentality or whatever. So I can appreciate what Ruven Schröder, the sporting director at Schalke, has done, which is to build a squad, as I said, basically from scratch over the last 14 months or whatever it is now. They have made more than 60 signings or outgoing transfers in that period. And they've built a quite interesting team, I would say. Obviously one that's not going to challenge Dortmund in terms of individual quality, but one that, in my opinion, should be fine when it comes to the relegation battle in the Bundesliga. I guess we could talk about, danger men or players to look out for on Saturday. You already mentioned Marius Bülter, whom Dortmund fans shouldn't remember too fondly because he once scored a brace against Dortmund for Union. Wasn't that stupid game where they conceded twice from the same corner routine?
I was just going to say that was that game, yes.
Yeah, that was Marius Bülter, and he's now at Schalke. And I mean, 3 goals doesn't sound like much, but does a Dortmund player have 3 goals this season in the Bundesliga?
I don't think so.
It's Reus with 2, I think, right? Yeah, so there's also Simon Terodde, the quintessential second Bundesliga striker who's still struggling to make his mark in the first division at the age of, I think, 34 or something. There's Sebastian Polter, who came over from Bochum, scored against Bochum last week, scored for Bochum against Dortmund last season. So
I'm sure Drexler also scored at some point against Dortmund, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, from a stupid corner routine even, when he was at Cologne. And Drexler being from the same town, or city rather, that I am, I would have a soft spot for him if he didn't play for Schalke. So, as I said, it's a quite interesting team. There's a lot of youth, but also a lot of experience. They have the type of squad that Dortmund tend to have problems with sometimes, but then again, the last few Revierderbys have not been competitive. I think the last one was a 4-0 win at Schalke. The one before was a 3-0 win for Dortmund. The one before was the first game from the Corona break, if memory serves. So, I mean, what to expect against Schalke over the last few games? An easy win. In Revierderby history, those games hardly ever were easy, and given the volatility of Dortmund's performances, as you bemoaned earlier, and also given that we don't know necessarily about personnel availabilities, there's always caution to be had, I suppose.
Yeah, as I said yesterday, Nico hurt his Schlotterbeck because he does have back pain and is suffering from that. Obviously, he was in the squad and did play after all, but I don't know if Schlotterbeck, for example, will be available against Schalke, but my assumption is yes. It was at least positive to see that Malin and Adeyemi came back and played, because there was a cloud of doubtfulness hovering above them for weeks now. And so that is positive. I also do not expect Gio Reyna to play again, at least not from the start, after just playing 70 minutes or however many, or maybe even 60 or so, since it was his first start since April. So, yeah, the thing is, Dortmund, in theory, should give Guerreiro a break because he very much needs it. He looked, as you said, overplayed against Leipzig, and while he looked okay against Manchester City, I feel like the next game is one where he looks a little bit tired. And in an ideal world, he would also give Marco Reus a break, but who would replace him? Ideally Reyna, but he himself needs a break again, I guess. So yeah, I've a lot of question marks about Dortmund's setup going into this game. Maybe you can help out here. Obviously, Kobel sadly not available yet, but defense, we could argue for Hummels and Süle to stick together, because what they showed against Man City looked quite decent, and they did not need a lot of time to acclimatize to each other, given that they have also played before for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, but also Schlotterbeck just needed a break. He got the break, and if his back problems were too hard to play, he wouldn't have come on.
Do you think it was one of those excuses just to moderate this ever?
No, but I mean, they wouldn't need an excuse. I mean, when you can play Mats Hummels and Niklas Süle, it's not like Nico Schlotterbeck after 7 games in Dortmund colors would suddenly pipe up.
Yeah, but I feel like every time the lineup sheet comes out, the headline is which of the 3 centre backs right now is benched. This is what I mean.
It's not the worst problem to have, I suppose.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I really don't know how they are going to handle this week. I think you could make the case that Hummels not being called up for Germany might mean that he's going to be in the starting 11, and maybe it's between Süle and Schlotterbeck. I don't know that it necessarily matters. I think all 3 of them are in decent enough shape this season. Schlotterbeck has had very good performances until Leipzig. Hummels was massive against Man City. Süle is getting better and better, I would say, after his muscular injury from August or late July, whatever. So yeah, the thing is, to me,
well, let's take it from the top then. Like, would you play Modeste again? This is a question I had written down anyway because of his performances so far, and how do you rate him overall? Because I don't rate him that highly. So far, to me, he's a bit of a dud.
I mean, I can't fault his work rate. I think he's actually been better off the ball in terms of defensive contribution, not only heading away set pieces than most Dortmund strikers over the last few years have been. Obviously, he doesn't have the quality in possession play. He's not someone to link up with much, but there's a reason why someone plays, no offense for FC Köln, until he's almost 34 and never plays in the Champions League. If in the normal world, a player like Anthony Modeste doesn't move to Dortmund, but there's nothing normal about the circumstances of what happened to Sebastian Haller. And they still had to sign someone, which I think we all agreed on when that was kind of up in the air still. So will I start against Schalke? There's very little to suggest to me that they are not going to start him, given that he's played every game from the start since he signed. And also given that Schalke presumably will rely on set pieces to create danger on Dortmund's goal, and Modeste is very good at heading those away. So, and I also kind of think that quite possibly there's something political about not starting Moukoko. Still hasn't signed a contract extension, so right now they are, with every important minute that he gets in these big games, they are putting him out for other clubs to see and judge. So I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if there was a bit of a political dimension there. But the point I was going to make before you asked about Modeste was I think the connection that Terzic has to Dortmund as a club and his own history with the club and all that, I think he's going to be the kind of manager that takes the Revierderby very seriously. So he's not going to pull a Thomas Tuchel and put guys like Kagawa and Weigl on the bench to rest before a Europa League game against Schalke and take a draw as a decent result there because he doesn't care about what Dortmund stands for. For that reason, I mean, Reus wasn't going to be rested anyway, but I also can't see Guerrero being rested because
no, absolutely not. Like I said, in an ideal world and just rotation machine applied, that would have been the case, but obviously not.
Yeah, so, but generally speaking, I think they're going to play with pretty close to what their best 11 options are made of right now. The question is, who are those players in Terzic's eye? How fit are Marlin and Adeyemi, for example? I'm assuming Wolf will rotate back into the 11 as well as Brandt. Obviously, as you said, Reina fairly likely not to start again. And I would presume Can is going to drop out of the starting 11 mostly for tactical reasons, unless he being Terzic wants to rest Özcan from the start. Then Can would be the logical replacement there. But I don't know if Can and logical should be put together in a sentence too often.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta really praise Emre Can though for this game, because he is not in rhythm, and he did play well. And considering that I've been hammering him for so many years, almost it feels like, I of all people should go out of my way in order to praise when he is doing well. Even though this one weird touch to Haaland in the first minutes was already a very weird one, but apart from that, very solid performance. I don't know if you want to fault him for not closing down Cancelo at the end, because I feel like the team was just on its last legs. So, yeah, I don't want to be too harsh there, if I'm honest. And yeah, otherwise, I also really want to see Özcan against Schalke, because I just want to see him just smash up some Schalke players. I don't even know who Flick and Kraus are, and I'm sure that I've said it now. I will very well know after Saturday's game, but they're obviously the defensive midfielders for Schalke, who I assume will set up in a 4-4-2. Then, they are the double pivot, and I really do wonder how they do against what I assume will be Bellingham and Özcan. But I'm really hoping this game will be an electric atmosphere. I think ESPN is carrying it on ESPN2, so you can see that on the international stage, the Bundesliga is trying to present this game more publicly as well, I guess, or ESPN at least are. And so I hope Dortmund do not embarrass themselves whatsoever. And if I'm honest, if I have to give a scoreline prediction, I think Dortmund will win this 2-0. I don't think they're going to really smash Schalke. I think the energy levels, and considering that even Hummels said that the entire team was flat toward the end, energy-wise against Manchester City, then I do not expect a heroic performance from Dortmund, so I think it's going to be very tricky. But, if they keep their defensive shape, which I assume they will, because more often than not this season they have managed that okay, and have a couple of moments going forward, especially off the bench, there's enough quality to eventually grab a goal or two here and there. What do you think?
If memory serves, I'm a pretty good mascot for Dortmund. I think the only loss I've seen of them was in a Super Cup match against Bayern.
Doesn't count.
Which is obvious. Which doesn't count, is irrelevant, and should be nulled and voided, because Franck Ribéry was being Franck Ribéry, and I think he punched Paslak in that game. It's hard to keep all the Ribéry instances apart from each other.
Or the potential red card moments in Super Cup games, Joshua Kimmich, apart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But they won that one, so, Anyway, I'm going for a 3-1 win for Dortmund.
Wonderful.
Please.
I'll take it. Yeah, please, for the sake of Lars, please win this game. And of course, for the sake of my mother not complaining about Dortmund's honor again, that too would be nice. So plenty of motivation, that should be. But yeah, in all honesty, it should be very feisty, and it's obviously the first sold-out Revierderby in how many years? 3?
It's almost 3. The last one was 29th of October 2019, a goalless draw with managers David Wagner and Lucien Favre, just to illustrate how long ago that was.
All right. So yeah, on that note, it is time to end the show. As always, everyone out there, thank you for listening. And to you, Lars, thank you for coming on and helping me out today. You can follow Lars at Lars Perman on Twitter. You can follow me at Stefan Butzko. You can follow all of us at Yellowwallpod. You can, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Yellow Wall, and watch my almost daily BVB update, where I, as the name says, give you updates about Borussia Dortmund. And we'll do a lineup prediction, stuff like that tomorrow as well. And that is pretty much it. Our Patreon is patreon.com/theyellowwall, and we shall be back with another episode then next week to discuss the Revierderby, and then there's the international break, so there's a bit of time off for me. Great. So as always, thank you for listening, and goodbye.